Why am I making this video? Obviously because I need to talk about my favorite book series to someone, and I'm sure people on the internet will listen. I'm Shadow, and today, instead of doing art projects, I wrote an essay on the first arc of Warriors. The first book, actually. This video technically counts as an English project for this year. So ever since middle school, I've been reading the Warriors books. If you've clicked on this video, you probably already know what this book series is about, or are familiar enough with it to watch a video on it. If you somehow don't know about the series that started all the way back in the early 2000s, then I guess you're too old for this video. Warriors is a book series written by a group of women under the pen name Erin Hunter and produced by Harper Collins. The series is about clans of cats in the fantasy world of the English countryside. Kinda like Watership Down, but instead of rabbits forced to withstand the horrors of the Industrial Revolution, they're cats with magic star powers. Oh, but Shadow, that sounds like a children's book series. Why would you still be reading it? Oh, just wait until you read the part where the evil incel cat threatens to kill his not-ex's children in an act of arson. But that's all I'll tell you, since it's a spoiler for the third arc. If you already know the basics of the Warriors world, you can skip to this timestamp. If you're not in the know, then I'll explain the basics. Oh, and I do just want to say, this book series is for young adults, so some of the stuff in these books might be too much for younger audiences. That stuff includes animals fighting, blood, animal death, some gore, racism, sexism, ableism, incest, religion, and a little bit of religious cult stuff. I guess making cats feel guilty if they disobey StarPlan. Child death, child soldiers, evil dictators, child birth that gets really detailed and graphic at times, moms dying, and a whole bunch of other things that I'm probably forgetting. I recommend that people 13 and up read this, since it has a lot of hard-hitting stuff written in it. The series is split into arcs, like any good media. The first 4 arcs are in chronological order, while the 5th arc is a prequel arc that takes place long before the events of the first arc. The 6th arc jumps back to the end of the 4th arc, and as of writing this, we are currently at arc 9. Yes, 9 arcs of cats. All arcs have 6 books each, which means there are currently 48 books in the complete arcs. Arc 9 is not finished yet. I don't think the 3rd book is out yet at the time of writing. Oh yeah, they're making graphic novels too. There are 3 graphic novels covering the first arc, but they do skip some important plot points from the first arc, so some people don't recommend new readers to pick them up. But the art in them is amazing, and I love all the cat designs. There's also manga, but it really isn't manga, they just call it that. Super editions, novellas, and field guides. So, this is a little outdated. As of October 2025, there are a total of 106 Warrior Cats books. Unless I counted wrong, which I can do. Okay, now onto the world building. I will only be talking about locations in the first arc because I assume you're still at this part because you've never read the series before. This is the clan territory. It houses the 4 clans of the forest. Thunder Clan, the courageous and honorable. Wind Clan, the strong and speedy. River Clan, the skillful and graceful. And Shadow Clan, the stealthful and secretive. There's also sacred grounds for Star Clan, the dead warrior ancestors that live in the sky. We're not going to touch on that. This map is from Blue Star's Prophecy, and the territories are color-coded for you to view. There are different roles inside the clans. The leader is the cat who leads their clan with 9 lives that are given to them by Star Clan. They will continue to lead until they lose their 9th life. They retire, or are exiled. Leaders have a deputy that acts as a second-in-command and is next in line for leadership. The clans have medicine cats that act as healers and religious guides for the clan, as they have a strong connection to Star Clan. Warriors hunt and fight for their clan and serve until they die or retire. Queens are nursing or expecting mothers that spend 6 moons in the nursery with their kits until they are made apprentices. Apprentices are kits 6 moons of age that train to become warriors and sometimes medicine cats. Elders are retired warriors who have served their clan and wish to live out their days peacefully. Cat names in the clans have simple naming structures with prefixes and suffixes, and get new suffixes as they grow. An example, Squirrel Kit gets her prefix name at birth and keeps her name until she's 6 moons. Her name changes to Squirrel Paw when she's an apprentice. Once she's a warrior, she'll have her final name of Squirrelflight. All clans must follow the warrior code made by the warriors of StarClan. The code is as follows. 1. Defend your clan, even with the cost of your life. You may have friendships with cats from other clans, but your loyalty must remain to your clan. 2. Do not hunt or trespass on another clan's territory. 3. Elders and kits must be fed first. Unless they have permission, apprentices must not eat until they have hunted for the clan. 4. Prey is killed to be eaten. Give thanks to StarClan for its life. 5. A kit must be at least 6 moons old to become an apprentice. 6. Newly appointed warriors will keep a silent vigil for 1 night after receiving their warrior name. 7. A cat cannot be made deputy without having mentored at least 1 apprentice. 8. The deputy will become clan leader when the current leader dies or retires. 9. After the death or retirement of the deputy, the new deputy must be chosen before moon high. 10. A gathering of all 4 clans is held at the full moon during a truce that lasts the night. There shall be no fighting among clans at this time. 11. Boundaries must be checked and marked daily. Challenge all trespassing cats. 12. No warrior may neglect a kit in pain or in danger, even if that kit is from a different clan. 13. The word of the clan leader is the warrior code. 14. An honorable warrior does not need to kill other cats to win battles, unless they act outside the warrior code or it is necessary for self-defense. 15. A warrior rejects the soft life of a kitty pet. Well, I think that concludes all of the basics. Now, to talk about the first arc. The first book, Into the Wild, was written by Kate Carey and was released on the 21st of January 2003. The book is cut into 25 chapters and a prologue. This video will not be reading the actual word-for-word text, as I don't have any rights to do so. I'll just be reviewing the book and talking about it, while also bringing up any issues or inconsistency and berating the main character. I'm just a fan of this series and not trying to get into trouble with any copyright issues whatsoever. Go read the book if you want to have all the details. Also, real quick, I want to show off my cool First Arc Italian version books. I got them while I took a trip to Italy a few months ago. They might not be as cool as the Russian covers, but I still really like them. Now onto the prologue. We start the book with cats beating each other up. The fight's happening due to a border skirmish over Sunning Rocks, a piece of territory by the river that both ThunderClan and RiverClan fight over constantly. The RiverClan deputy, Oakheart, is fighting with a big dark tabby warrior of ThunderClan, Tigerclaw. Tigerclaw asks Oakheart why he thinks he can just stroll over to ThunderClan territory and hunt. Oakheart says that Sunning Rocks will soon go back to being RiverClan territory. Tigerclaw lets go of Oakheart to go save Mousefur from a RiverClan Tom. Then he gets his nose sliced open. The ThunderClan deputy, Redtail, calls for ThunderClan to retreat back into the forest. The RiverClan cats yowl with triumph. Tigerclaw follows his fellow ThunderClan warriors back, but not before glaring back at the battle that was just lost. In the ThunderClan camp, Blue Star, the leader of ThunderClan, is sitting in the clearing. The medicine cat Spotted Leaf walks out of her den to sit by her leader. Blue Star asks if her warriors will be alright. Spotted Leaf tells her that all of their wounds will heal and she doesn't have anything to worry about. Blue Star looks up to Silverpelt. Blue Star asks Spotted Leaf how she can go on leading ThunderClan if they keep losing battles under her leadership. Spotted Leaf reminds her that it's only the beginning of New Leaf. There'll be more warriors soon. Blue Star then asks if StarClan has spoken to Spotted Leaf. Spotted Leaf says no. But then StarClan just sends a comet to go fly by as a way to just send a message to Spotted Leaf, which, by the way, this never happens again. Spotted Leaf stares up into the sky, her eyes wide. She then turns to Blue Star and says, "Fire alone can save our clan." Blue Star is baffled about fire saving them. Spotted Leaf shrugs. That's what StarClan said to her. Blue Star stares at Spotted Leaf and says, "If StarClan says it, then it should be so. Fire will save our clan." That's the end of the prologue. Now, from this point forward in the arc, we will be in the POV of our dumb little orange boy. Chapter 1 starts with Rusty hunting a mouse in the forest. He's not really hunting, though, and is instead dreaming. He wakes up and eats a bit before walking out to the garden. He stares out into the forest from the fence, so he jumps down to venture out there. However, his friend Smudge stops him so they can talk. Smudge is surprised that Rusty would want to go out into the woods. After all, dangerous cats live out there, and they eat live rabbits and sharpen their claws on bones. Rusty doesn't believe Smudge about those stories. Smudge says he's warned Rusty and walks back to his garden. Rusty catches movement from the undergrowth and creeps forward. Then, something crunches near him, and Rusty jumps, making his little bell jingle. Rusty scents a fox and ponders a bit on what it is. Then he gets jumped by another kit. Rusty fought off his attacker and ran. Then he stops, not wanting to be a coward. He turns to fight, then gets knocked into. Rusty's attacker stops and sits down. Graypaw introduces himself and comments that Rusty put up a pretty good fight for a kitty pet. Rusty starts asking questions, and Graypaw tells him about the 4 clans of the forest. Suddenly, 2 much older cats step out from the undergrowth. It's ThunderClan cats, Lionheart and Blue Star. Blue Star takes interest in Rusty and compliments his fighting and tells him that she's been watching him. Rusty does get in trouble for trespassing, though. Rusty says he's only come to hunt 1 mouse and immediately gets Blue Star's fury. Rusty apologizes and Blue Star calms down. Then she asks if he wants to join their cult in the woods. Graypaw objects, saying that kitty pets can't be warriors since they don't have warrior blood. Blue Star says that too much warrior blood has been spilled. Lionheart talks to Rusty about the importance of understanding the choice Rusty must make. Either join the clan, or never step paw in the woods again. Then Blue Star talks about Rusty still being a Tom since he hasn't been to the Cutters yet. It's kind of funny to me. Hey kid, you still got your balls. You want to join our cult in the woods? Anyways, Blue Star says that Rusty will have to work hard for a place in the clan. Rusty asks for more time on it, and Blue Star grants it. The 3 clan cats leave Rusty to himself. The next morning, Rusty talks with his friend Smudge about the cats he met last night. He tells Smudge that he's leaving to live with the clan cats. And after spending some more time with Smudge, Rusty ventures out to the woods. He's greeted by Lionheart and another senior warrior, Whitestorm. The 2 warriors lead Rusty to the ThunderClan camp. Blue Star goes to greet Rusty, glad to see he's decided to join. Blue Star jumps onto the high rock to announce Rusty's arrival to ThunderClan. Cats are not happy about this. A newly made warrior, Longtail, challenges Rusty. They fight. Rusty gets a good nick in Longtail's ear, and Longtail breaks Rusty's collar. Blue Star stops the fight and declares that Rusty's collar breaking means StarClan approves of him. I'm not so sure that StarClan calls that girl. I mean, most collars are breakaway collars, but okay, Blue Star, you do you, I guess. Blue Star then renames Rusty to Firepaw, because when he's sitting in the sunlight, it looks like his pelt's on fire. Graypaw greets Firepaw, and some cats do welcome him. Not Darkstripe, though. Darkstripe's a racist tool, and also Graypaw's older brother. Then a black Tom rushes into camp and scrambles on top of the high rock. Redtail is dead. Well, isn't that a way to get introduced into the clan? The apprentice, Ravenpaw, then falls off the tall rock and plummets to the ground. The medicine cat, Spotted Leaf, hurries over to him. Then the massive dark tabby Tiger Claw walks through the entrance tunnel. Redtail was hanging limp in his jaw. Blue Star demanded Tiger Claw to tell her what happened. Tiger Claw says that Redtail was killed by Oakheart, then he killed Oakheart in revenge. That's a bit strange though, but I guess the warrior code does say that you can kill a cat that acts outside the code. Cats started to approach Redtail's body. They started grooming his fur. Firepaw asked Graypaw what they were doing. They were sharing tongues one last time, even though Redtail might have already left for StarClan. Graypaw then tells Firepaw what StarClan was. Blue Star had stepped forward to sit near Redtail's corpse. Tiger Claw from the background got up and walked over to Ravenpaw. Spotted Leaf was still treating Ravenpaw's wounds. Firepaw and Greypaw walked over to the cats. Tiger Claw asked Spotted Leaf if Ravenpaw will be okay. He didn't want all that training to go to waste. "Ah, yes, a pity. After all that training, he dies in his first battle," Spotted Leaf teased. Tiger Claw asks again if Ravenpaw will live. Spotted Leaf says that yes, he'll live. Tiger Claw tried to wake Ravenpaw up with his long claw. Spotted Leaf moves Tiger Claw's paw away and tells him that Ravenpaw needs rest. Tiger Claw tries to argue, but Spotted Leaf stops him. Tiger Claw turns and sees Firepaw and Greypaw. Greypaw introduces Firepaw to Tiger Claw. Tiger Claw immediately says that Firepaw smells like a kitty pet and says that Blue Star mentioned that she had come across a stray kitty pet. Tiger Claw walks away, stating that he'll keep an eye on Firepaw's training. Then Ravenpaw stirred and asked if Tiger Claw was gone. Firepaw tries to introduce himself, but Spotted Leaf shoos the two cats away. Greypaw starts to show Firepaw around the camp. He then introduces Firepaw to the elders: Small Ear, Half-Tail, One-Eye, Dabbletail, and Patchbelt. Even though she's not mentioned, Rosetail is also a ThunderClan elder. She's not mentioned at all. Maybe only once, but that's much later. The elders share a mouse with the two, and Firepaw adores the taste. The elders talk about who Blue Star will appoint as her new deputy, and how she became deputy only a little after she lost her kits. Anyways, Blue Star calls a clan meeting to High Rock. Every cat is expecting Tiger Claw to become deputy, but Blue Star appoints Lionheart. And since Dustpaw just lost his mentor, Darkstripe will be his new mentor. Greypaw shows Firepaw to the apprentice den. Sandpaw steps out of the den, and Firepaw greets her. Sandpaw spits at Firepaw that she never expected to train with a kitty pet. Whitestorm, her mentor, tells Sandpaw off and tells the three apprentices to get some rest. Firepaw makes a nest beside Greypaw and falls asleep, happy to now be a ThunderClan cat. Firepaw gets woken up by Greypaw for training. Firepaw leaped up, excited to start his training. Since Firepaw doesn't have a mentor yet, he'll be training with Lionheart and Tiger Claw. The warriors led him and Greypaw around, spending the whole day showing them the territory. They get back to ThunderClan camp, and Sandpaw and Dustpaw taunt Firepaw. Blue Star calls for cats to leave for the gathering, and Sandpaw and Dustpaw go with her. Firepaw and Greypaw both settle down to rest. The next day, Firepaw and Greypaw train in the Sandy Hollow. Ravenpaw joins them. The apprentices are taught to stalk different prey. Tiger Claw chastises Firepaw because he doesn't know how to properly hunt, but Firepaw was able to catch a mouse. Time skip time. At this point, Firepaw has been training for 2 moons. It's now Greenleaf. He tries to hunt a vole, but someone ruins his catch. So he tackles them, not realizing it's Greypaw. Then they chase a squirrel, but they lose it at the Thunderpath. Firepaw gets to feel the Thunderpath and spots a ShadowClan warrior watching him from the other side. Greypaw says he has to leave and go with Blue Star to deliver a message to WindClan. Greypaw leaves Firepaw to himself. Then Firepaw smells ShadowClan scent. Then he gets jumped by another cat. So then Firepaw starts fighting an old lady. Yellowfang jumped back. Firepaw could see that she was too weak to continue fighting, so he decided to show mercy. Firepaw felt bad for the old sheep cat, so he leaves and brings her back a rabbit. Yellowfang didn't hesitate as she started eating the rabbit. Firepaw watches her and starts to get hungry. He decides to do something he shouldn't do. He takes a bite of the rabbit. I don't know why he had such a hard time not eating prey while out on a hunting patrol. He's been doing this for 2 moons. I feel like he shouldn't have any issues with it. ThunderClan warriors then show up. A patrol with Tiger Claw, Darkstripe, and Willowpelt. And guess what? Blue Star's there too. And Greypaw too, I guess. Blue Star asked Firepaw if his hunger was more important than feeding his own clan. Blue Star looked at Yellowfang and stared in surprise. She asked what the ShadowClan medicine cat was doing in ThunderClan territory. Yellowfang hissed that she travels alone now. Darkstripe speaks up and said they should go ahead and kill Yellowfang. Blue Star responds that they won't do that. Instead, they'll take Yellowfang back to camp and deal with her and Firepaw there. The patrol walks back to camp, and Greypaw lets Firepaw know that him eating the rabbit was a very mouse-brain thing to do. When they get back to camp, Blue Star holds a meeting. First, she says that her patrol could not find WindClan, but there was scent of ShadowClan everywhere. Blue Star says that they can't be certain if ShadowClan drove WindClan out, so she asks Yellowfang. Yellowfang spat that she won't tell ShadowClan's secrets. Blue Star says next that since they need more warriors, Blue Star will start training Firepaw. Blue Star then goes on to say they'll keep Yellowfang as a prisoner, and Firepaw has to take care of her. With that, Blue Star puts the meeting to a close. I think this punishment is very fair for Firepaw. Firepaw walked over to Yellowfang to go check up on her, with Graypaw telling him to be careful around the angry cat. Once he reaches Yellowfang, she starts insulting him about being a kitty pet. Okay, it doesn't make sense that Yellowfang would know about Firepaw unless Blue Star told the other 4 clans about him. I can't remember if Yellowfang was at any gatherings where Firepaw is mentioned. It also doesn't make sense that Yellowfang, of all cats, would be teasing Firepaw about his past, but all of that is in her own book. Firepaw tells Yellowfang off that she needs to get over being taken care of until she can care for herself. Yellowfang started laughing. She tells Firepaw that he has spirit, and for him to go get some herbs from Spotted Leaf. Firepaw was stunned by her quick change in mood and hurried off to the medicine den. He padded through the entrance and saw Spotted Leaf step out from the back of the den. Firepaw greeted her shyly and told Spotted Leaf what Yellowfang said she needed. Spotted Leaf gives Firepaw the herbs and leaves. Firepaw brought the herbs back to Yellowfang and noticed Tiger Claw staring at him from the warrior's den. 3 days had passed since Yellowfang was brought to camp. Firepaw woke his friends up and walked out of the den. He went out and brought back a mouse for Yellowfang. While taking care of her, Firepaw notices 2 kits playing nearby. A tabby and a gray and white kit. Alright, so the tabby is definitely Link's kit, and the gray and white kit has to be Swift kit. These 2 are Golden Flower's first litter, with, according to the family tree, Patch Pelt. Anyways, Link's kit stumbles towards Yellowfang. She hissed for the kit to stay away. Link's kit ran and hid behind Speckletail, one of the queens. Yellowfang tells Firepaw that nothing good happens when kits are around her. After helping Yellowfang with her ticks, he leaves camp and finds Graypaw and Ravenpaw. The 3 hunt so much prey that they have to carry it back in loads. Lionheart and Tiger Claw are pleased about the prey. The 3 apprentices chow down on some food. Graypaw tried to help Firepaw out and bring Yellowfang a mouse, but Tiger Claw caught him and forced him to eat the mouse instead. The next morning, Firepaw wakes up with wet fur. He goes over to Yellowfang and fetches her some fresh bedding. Firepaw runs into Speckletail, who tells him Blue Star is looking for him. Firepaw hurries over to Blue Star, and she tells him that he has to do an assessment with Tiger Claw. Firepaw, Graypaw, and Ravenpaw are all outside camp, waiting for Tiger Claw. When Tiger Claw shows up, he sends Ravenpaw out to Snake Rocks, Graypaw out to the stream by the Thunderpath, and Firepaw to hunt near Tall Pines, near Two Leg Place. The 3 apprentices split up, all of them headed off to hunt. Firepaw catches some prey and comes across an unexpected face. It's Smudge. Firepaw and Smudge catch up for a moment. Then Smudge left and promised to tell the other house cats if that Firepaw was still okay. Firepaw leaves to go hunt some more. Firepaw returned from his assessment with a bird. He dropped it at Tiger Claw's paws. Graypaw came back with a squirrel. It took Ravenpaw a bit longer, but he came back with an adder in his maw. The cats returned to camp, dropping their prey at the fresh kill pile. Firepaw overheard some kits admiring his catch. Tiger Claw walks over to Firepaw and tells him that Blue Star wants to see him. Firepaw hurried over to Blue Star's den. Blue Star tells Firepaw that Tiger Claw had seen him sharing tongues with a kitty pet. Firepaw explained that he was friends with the kitty pet. Blue Star asked him if he missed his old life, and if he wanted to leave the clan. No, of course not, Firepaw told her. Blue Star asked again if he wished to leave. Firepaw took a breath and said that meeting Smudge made him certain in his decision to leave his old life, that he was glad he wasn't a kitty pet anymore. Blue Star nodded, saying she believed his words. Blue Star then says she spoke to Yellowfang and she thinks fondly of Firepaw, and Blue Star might grow to like her. Firepaw was pleased by Blue Star's words, as he's grown to care for the old cat. Blue Star tells Firepaw that he needs to continue his training, and the queens will take care of Yellowfang. Blue Star also says that Tiger Claw was pleased with his hunting skills, and all 3 apprentices will come to the gathering. Firepaw asked about Sandpaw and Dustpaw. Blue Star tells him that they'll stay to guard the camp. Firepaw got dismissed, and he bounded over to Graypaw and Ravenpaw. He told them what Blue Star told him. Graypaw starts talking to Ravenpaw and wondering if some of the best warriors would be there. Firepaw stopped listening. He thought about what bad luck it was that Tiger Claw found him talking with Smudge. Why had Tiger Claw sent him to hunt near Two Leg Place in the first place? Did Tiger Claw not trust Firepaw's loyalty to ThunderClan? ThunderClan gets led to the gathering by Blue Star. Firepaw can see down the crater where the cats were gathered. The crater was surrounded by 4 great oaks and a big stone was in the middle. Greypaw points out Crooked Star, the River Clan leader, to Firepaw. The tabby Tom was sitting near the great rock, his jaw horribly twisted. Ravenpaw pointed out Broken Star next, the Shadow Clan leader. He had a flat face and ragged fur, and the way he sat so still made Firepaw's fur prick. Firepaw asked what the Wind Clan leader looked like. Greypaw told him that he hadn't seen Tall Star, but he was a black and white Tom with a long tail. Lionheart spoke up. The Wind Clan cats must be late. Blue Star gave the signal and led the cats down to the hollow. When they reached the hollow, Firepaw looked around in awe. A huge white Tom walked past the cats. Greypaw pointed him out as Blackfoot, Shadow Clan's deputy. The 3 apprentices then split up. Firepaw followed where Tiger Claw had gone. Behind the great rock, Tiger Claw was with another group of warriors, telling the story of how he won the battle over Sunning Rocks. Firepaw listened until the end of the story. After that, he crept away and found Greypaw with a group of cats. Firepaw looked across from Greypaw and saw Spotted Leaf sitting between 2 River Clan Toms. Firepaw glanced at her and sat near Greypaw. There still wasn't any scent of Wind Clan. Greypaw pointed towards Running Nose, the new Shadow Clan medicine cat. Some of the elders started talking about the great clans of old. Spotted Leaf piped up and said that if Tiger Clan was still around, none of the clans would have made their territory here. A very small apprentice asked from beside Firepaw what Tiger Clan was. Greypaw said that Tiger Clan were one of the ancient big cat clans. So was Lion Clan and Leopard Clan. Lionheart came up to the group and explained the other clans. He stopped and looked at the small apprentice. He asked why the Shadow Clan apprentice was so small. The apprentice quietly said that he was 6 moons and his mother was small too. Firepaw and Greypaw walked away and found Ravenpaw telling the Sun and Rock story to some apprentices. Firepaw noticed that Ravenpaw had changed some things around. He said that Redtail was the one to announce that Oakheart had died. Firepaw was confused. Tiger Claw said that he killed Oakheart in revenge for killing Redtail. If Redtail killed Oakheart, then who killed Redtail? Firepaw noticed Tiger Claw looking at Ravenpaw from the shadows, a look of horror and fury on his face. Then a yowl sounded from the great rock. Cats around the clearing started saying that they couldn't start the gathering without Wind Clan. Broken Star silenced them with a flick of his crooked tail. Broken Star said that this Leaf Bear was rough. All the clans lost kits, except for Shadow Clan. Since Shadow Clan has too many mouths to feed, Broken Star demands hunting rights on the other clans' territories. Crooked Star said that River Clan has already agreed to let Shadow Clan hunt on their land, and River Clan cats are not happy about this. So, then, Broken Star just admits to driving Wind Clan out and threatens the clans that he'll also drive them out if they don't let Shadow Clan hunt on their land. Blue Star's like, I'll talk to my cats about this later. Unlike some cats, looks pointedly at Crooked Star. Broken Star continued. There's a Shadow Clan kit killer on the loose, and the other clans must look out for her. With that, Broken Star jumped down from the great rock and left with Shadow Clan. Thunder Clan cats are talking amongst themselves, outraged and thinking that Yellowfang was the cat Broken Star was talking about. Firepaw didn't listen to anything else. He started sprinting back to camp. He had to find out the truth before his clan killed Yellowfang. Firepaw booked it into camp. He was the first one back from the gathering. He walked over to Yellowfang. Yellowfang looked up at him. She asked if Firepaw came back from the gathering. She mumbled that Broken Star kept his promise. Firepaw asked what promise she was talking about. Yellowfang explained that Shadow Clan's leader promised to drive her out of every territory. Firepaw helps Yellowfang to her paws, saying she needs to leave before the others get back. He asked her if she would really harm any kits. Yellowfang asked Firepaw if he thought she would. No, he doesn't. Firepaw asked why Broken Star would say she harmed kits. Before she could answer, yowls of angry cats sounded in the distance. Firepaw tried to get Yellowfang to leave, but she did not move. She would face whatever ThunderClan decided for her. Firepaw backed away. Blue Star entered the clearing, followed by Lionheart, Frostfur, and Willowpelt. Frostfur had run to the nursery. Tiger Claw and Darkstripe walked into the clearing, striding to where Yellowfang was. Firepaw raced over to Graypaw and Ravenpaw. The cats who had stayed in camp were waking up at this point. Running Wind asked what happened at the gathering. Longtail and Willowpill explained in angry yowls. Bluestar had jumped onto the high rock. She ordered for silence. Tigerclaw and Darkstripe walked out, dragging a hissing Yellowfang with them. Bluestar jumped down and demanded for them to stop. Frostfur walked out of the nursery, saying their kits were safe. Bluestar spat at her that of course they were safe. Frostfur was taken aback and asked Bluestar if she was going to throw Yellowfang out. Darkstripe hissed that they should go ahead and kill Yellowfang. Bluestar turned to him. She asked what Yellowfang had done. Broken Star only mentioned that there was a rogue ShadowClan cat on the loose. He did not mention Yellowfang. As long as Yellowfang was in her clan, Bluestar would not order any of her warriors to harm Yellowfang. Firepaw sighed with relief. Yellowfang looked up at Bluestar, saying that she would leave if Bluestar wished. Bluestar said no, Yellowfang did nothing wrong. So, I do think Bluestar's a bit too trusting. She has issues and I love her even with her flaws. Bluestar goes on to say that the real enemy is Broken Star. She says that WindClan was driven out, and RiverClan has already allowed ShadowClan to hunt on their territory. Some cats whispered with defiance. Tigerclaw asked if Bluestar would not agree to Broken Star's demands. Bluestar said that the clans have always had their own territories. They've never needed to share hunting rights before. Tigerclaw nodded with approval. Smallear asked if they could defend themselves from ShadowClan. Bluestar answered that they have to try. Bluestar goes on to say that she'll travel to the Moonstone tomorrow to speak with StarClan. Bluestar turned and entered her den. Firepaw asked Graypaw what the Moonstone was. Graypaw explained that it was a glowing rock deep underground where leaders go to share dreams with StarClan. Firepaw and Graypaw walked over to the apprentice den. Dustpaw asked him eagerly what happened at the gathering. Graypaw began telling Dustpaw and Sandpaw what happened that night. Firepaw looked into the clearing and saw Tigerclaw speaking to Ravenpaw fiercely. Ravenpaw turned and ran to the apprentice's den. Lionheart then strided up and said Bluestar wanted Firepaw, Graypaw, and Ravenpaw to come with her to the Moonstone. Lionheart left, and Sandpaw told Firepaw that he'd better get traveling herbs from Spotted Leaf. Firepaw noticed that there was no sourness in her mew. Firepaw and Graypaw left for the medicine den. Firepaw picked one bundle up, and Spotted Leaf rubbed her face against his as a friendly gesture. Firepaw does not take it as a friendly gesture. He has a weird crush on the doctor. The crush does not go away. The two apprentices walked back to their den to settle in for the night. Firepaw gets a dream about cats fighting, and an eerie wail sounding near him. Firepaw decides to tell no one about this dream. He will keep doing this, and it gets so frustrating. Firepaw, Graypaw, and Ravenpaw all took the traveling herbs, and Graypaw complained about the taste. Bluestar left with Tigerclaw at her side and the apprentices following them. The cats walked towards Fortress, heading past it. They walked through a thin strip of RiverClan territory, walking into WindClan. The cats walked through WindClan territory, passing a ShadowClan patrol on the way. Then they come across the Thunderpath. Bluestar waited for it to quiet down before running across. Tigerclaw forced Ravenpaw to cross next. Then Graypaw crossed. When Firepaw was about to pass, a monster veered off the Thunderpath and almost hit him. It quickly swerved back onto the Thunderpath, leaving Firepaw sitting there frightened. Firepaw raced over to the other side, and Tigerclaw followed him. He spat how much he hated Two Legs. Bluestar asked Firepaw if he wanted to rest, but he declined. The group finally reached Mothermouth. The sun hadn't set yet, so they rested and waited. When the sun was low enough, Bluestar stood up and announced it was time. Bluestar enters Mothermouth, and Tigerclaw and Firepaw follow her. Graypaw and Ravenpaw are left to guard the entrance. As the three cats walk, the tunnel gets darker and winds further into the earth. Then, they walk into a larger opening. Bright light blinds Firepaw, and he smells fear scent. He gets pushed aside by Tigerclaw as the Tom runs back into the tunnel. In front of Firepaw and Bluestar was a big chunk of quartz that was reflecting the moonlight from above. Bluestar asks if Firepaw is still there. Firepaw says that he is. Firepaw asked where Tigerclaw went. Bluestar answered that some cats can't handle the power of StarClan. She asked Firepaw what he felt. Only curiosity. Bluestar walked to the moonstone and pressed her nose against the cold, glowing stone. She lay down with her head resting on her paws. Firepaw sat and waited. After some time, the moonstone stopped glowing as the moon passed overhead. Bluestar got up and ushered Firepaw out. She told him that they needed to hurry back to camp. The two cats ran outside the tunnels. Tigerclaw, Graypaw, and Ravenpaw were waiting for them outside. Bluestar told them that they had to hurry back. Firepaw wondered if his dream was coming true. Of course it is! The ThunderClan cats started hurrying back to their territory. It was dark out and much quieter. Firepaw asked his friends what Tigerclaw said when he came out of the cave. Graypaw answered that Tigerclaw said he was only checking to make sure they were still keeping watch. Ravenpaw said that he did seem a little on edge. Graypaw said that Ravenpaw also looked on edge, especially around Tigerclaw. Graypaw asked Firepaw what the inside of Mothermouth was like. Firepaw said the moonstone was amazing. Suddenly, a black and white tomcat jumped into view in front of Bluestar and Tigerclaw. Bluestar greets Barley, the loner who lives near the barn. Barley asked Bluestar how she was. Bluestar said that she was doing fine, and asked Barley how the prey was running. Barley said that with 2 legs around, there's always plenty of rats. Tigerclaw growled, asking Barley what he wanted. Barley said he wanted to warn the cats about the dogs up ahead. Bluestar thanks Barley and leads her cats in a different way. Tigerclaw asked her if she really trusted what a loner told her. Bluestar asked if he wanted to face the dogs. The sun had slowly started to rise by now. As the cats walked, Firepaw smelled the scent of small prey. He turned and saw Ravenpaw being dragged into a ditch. What's that? Rats. Rats everywhere. The ThunderClan cats are surrounded by rats. The cats fought with all their might. Firepaw attacked rat after rat, trying not to get his pelt torn in the process. Suddenly, Barley appeared and started helping Bluestar fight off rats. Finally, the rats started fleeing. Firepaw looked around and saw Ravenpaw dragging himself out of the ditch. Firepaw walked over to Bluestar when he saw her. She was laying still on the ground, her neck drenched in blood. Firepaw asked Bluestar if she was all right. There was no answer. Firepaw looked up when he heard Tigerclaw yowl with fury. He was standing on top of Barley, accusing him of leading them into a trap. Barley insisted that he didn't know the rats would show up. Firepaw yelled to Tigerclaw that Bluestar was hurt. Tigerclaw let go of Barley and rushed over. He looked at Bluestar and simply said that she was in StarClan's paws now. The ThunderClan cats sat around Bluestar. Then Bluestar started moving again. Firepaw felt joy and relief. He asked if Bluestar was all right. She said she was. She had just lost one of her lives. Tigerclaw sent Graypaw and Ravenpaw to go find herbs for Bluestar. Then Tigerclaw told Barley to leave them. Ravenpaw came back with cobwebs, and Firepaw started putting them on Bluestar. Bluestar expressed how grateful she was that Tigerclaw had been there to save her. But Firepaw corrects her and says that Barley was the one that saved her. Tigerclaw tries to get Bluestar to rest for a while, but Bluestar says that they must keep moving. So the ThunderClan cats keep walking. Tigerclaw asks Bluestar what life she lost. Bluestar said that it was her 5th life. The cats returned to camp to find ShadowClan warriors there fighting their clanmates. Firepaw looked around and saw the queens and elders fighting furiously against ShadowClan warriors. Firepaw started attacking a tabby warrior much bigger than him. Even Bluestar, who was still hurting from her wound, was clawing a ShadowClan warrior apart. Firepaw looked around and saw the ShadowClan deputy, Blackfoot, at the nursery. He had pulled Rosetail away from the entrance and quickly killed her. They don't even say her name in the book. They just say a ThunderClan elder. I don't think they even mention her as dead later. Firepaw tried to race over when he saw Blackfoot reaching for the kits, but a tortoiseshell cat slammed down on him. Firepaw managed to fight the ShadowClan warrior off, and he rushed over to the nursery. Blackfoot wasn't there. Instead, inside the nursery, standing over the kits, was Yellowfang. Firepaw nodded and left, fighting off the rest of the ShadowClan warriors. When all of ShadowClan had gone, Firepaw sat beside his friends. Frostfur left to check on the kits. She came back purring, followed by Yellowfang. She announces that a warrior killed Rosetail, but Yellowfang protected the kits. This is the only time Rosetail is mentioned. Firepaw speaks up, saying that it was the deputy that Yellowfang fought off. Then Bluestar limped towards the apprentices. She told them that Spotted Leaf was with Lionheart. Greypaw wailed and rushed over to Lionheart. He was laying next to the high rock. Firepaw froze as Greypaw grieved. It sounded like the wail in his dream. He walked over to Lionheart, stopping beside Spotted Leaf. She told him that there's nothing she can do. Lionheart is joining StarClan. After some silence, Greypaw looked up and wailed that Lionheart was gone. Cat started walking forward, sharing tongues for the last time with their deputy. Bluestar licked Lionheart's fur and asked softly what she would do without him. Tigerclaw walked over and simply licked Lionheart and said nothing. He seemed to be more focused on Ravenpaw than his fallen warrior. After Spotted Leaf had tended to every cat, Bluestar got on the high rock. She said that since it was almost moon high, she had to pick another deputy. Much too soon. Every cat looked at Tigerclaw. Tigerclaw is the new deputy. Ravenpaw mumbled that choosing Tigerclaw was the worst idea. He had been wanting to become deputy ever since he took care of Redtail. Firepaw asked him what he was talking about. A thought hit him. Firepaw wondered if maybe Tigerclaw had killed Redtail. Tigerclaw appears from thin air to scare Ravenpaw. He asked Ravenpaw if he's talking about that time he saved Redtail. Firepaw quickly spoke up, saying Ravenpaw was just saying he wished Tigerclaw was also there for Lionheart. Tigerclaw stalked off menacingly. Ravenpaw slunk away, joining Greypaw beside Lionheart's body. Firepaw followed suit and sat beside his friends. When dawn arrived, the elders took Lionheart's body out of camp to bury him. After Firepaw gets some rest, he's woken by Dustpaw, telling him Bluestar's called a clan meeting. On the high rock, Tigerclaw stood beside Bluestar, saying that Bluestar had lost another life. He announces that he'll assign bodyguards for her. Bluestar spoke up, saying she doesn't need bodyguards to talk to her clanmates. She also says that Yellowfang is invited to join the clan. Yellowfang accepts the offer. Bluestar continues on to say ShadowClan is still a threat and they must send out more border patrols. Tigerclaw speaks up again, asking how ShadowClan knew when their leader would be gone to attack. Then he looked directly at Ravenpaw. The clan followed his gaze and stared at Ravenpaw. Tigerclaw tells the clan they need to rebuild the camp and dismisses them. Firepaw searched for Ravenpaw, still stunned at Tigerclaw's accusation. However, his friend had already left. Firepaw left instead for the medicine den to check up on Yellowfang. He asked her how she took on Blackfoot by herself. Yellowfang says that Blackfoot might be strong, but he's an idiot. Firepaw then asks if Yellowfang missed ShadowClan. She missed the old ShadowClan, before Brokenstar became leader. She says that he was always great at speaking. He could convince any cat about anything he wanted to. Yellowfang tells Firepaw to go roll around in wild garlic to help with his rat bites. Firepaw thanks Yellowfang and leaves. On his way out of camp, Darkstripe stops him. The warrior tells Firepaw that no cat can leave and he shouldn't take orders from Yellowfang. Firepaw muttered Dirtstripe, dirt is what they call waste, and walked off to find his friends. He tells his friends what he was doing, and Greypaw said he'll help him slip out a hole to get some wild garlic. Firepaw was very grateful and slipped out of camp. Firepaw began looking around for garlic when he suddenly heard cats talking. He snooped about and found Darkstripe, Longtail, and Tigerclaw. The deputy was muttering about how he was so surprised that his old apprentice would betray them. Tigerclaw says that Ravenpaw had disappeared long enough to travel to ShadowClan's territory. Darkstripe says that they have to get rid of Ravenpaw, and Tigerclaw agrees. Firepaw listened to the warriors before quickly creeping back into camp. He could feel his fur rise in fear. Ravenpaw was in danger. Firepaw returns to camp and says he didn't have any luck getting the garlic. Firepaw enters the medicine den to go get some poppy seeds. Inside, Spotted Leaf was pacing around. Firepaw asked if she was okay. Spotted Leaf told him the spirits of StarClan were being restless. Spotted Leaf gives Firepaw some poppy seeds. Just as he was leaving, Spotted Leaf hissed, her eyes wide. StarClan said that fire can save their clan, and she sensed they wanted to tell him that now. Firepaw was a bit concerned and left, thinking about what Spotted Leaf told him. After working all night, cats were allowed to sleep in. After hearing what Tigerclaw said, Firepaw couldn't sleep. After waking up Greypaw, Firepaw and Ravenpaw headed out of their den. Tigerclaw told Firepaw that Bluestar was waiting for him for trading. After a short moment, Bluestar appeared. Firepaw asked if her guards would join them. Then Bluestar answered no. When they reached the sandy hollow, instead of telling Bluestar about his thoughts on Tigerclaw and his worries about Ravenpaw's safety, he gets too locked in with being beat up by Bluestar and completely forgets. Yep, that's the whole chapter. Training and not telling the adult in a dangerous situation with a suspect of murder. Wow, fantastic, Firepaw. I can't believe you're so smart, Firepaw. You're so smart, you dumb little orange boy. Firepaw returns into camp. It was starting to look better now that it was being fixed. When Firepaw walked over to the fresh kill pile, Sandpaw told him that her and Dustpaw had already taken the last mice. Firepaw walked away and found Greypaw. Greypaw tells Firepaw that Ravenpaw hadn't come back yet from hunting. It takes a moment, and just as Firepaw is about to leave to look for him, Ravenpaw comes back to camp with fresh kill. He says that the fresh kill should taste extra good, because he got this from ShadowClan. He explained that Tigerclaw had sent him there. Firepaw immediately says they need to tell Bluestar. Ravenpaw told him that they couldn't, and it didn't matter because he survived. Ravenpaw then told Firepaw he's tired, and walked away to the apprentice den. After watching the clan start to settle down for the night, he followed after Ravenpaw, and walked into the apprentice den. Ravenpaw was already asleep, but he started twitching. He suddenly jumped up and looked around wildly. Firepaw tried calming his friend down. After calming him, Firepaw started to tell Ravenpaw what he heard Tigerclaw say. He asked why Tigerclaw would want to get rid of him. Ravenpaw moved closer to Firepaw and whispered that Oakheart didn't kill Redtail. Tigerclaw did. After Redtail killed Oakheart, Tigerclaw had told Ravenpaw to flee back to camp, but Ravenpaw hadn't wanted to leave the fight. He headed back, only to see Tigerclaw creeping up on Redtail from behind before attacking him. Firepaw asked why he didn't tell Bluestar. Ravenpaw says that she wouldn't have believed him. Well, Firepaw believes him, and he tells his friend to stay close to him and Greypaw. When Greypaw returns to the den at dawn, he invites Firepaw to go see Brindleface's new kits. They head to the nursery and find Whitestorm guarding the entrance. So, according to the family tree, Whitestorm is the father of Brindleface's kits, but he's also Willowpelt's mate. I don't really like that, and I just imagine that Whitestorm stepped up and pretended to be the father of the kits because he's such a good guy. And also, Whitestorm being Willowpelt's mate means he might also be Greypaw's father. Well, Whitestorm says only one cat can visit at a time. Greypaw goes in while Firepaw walks to the medicine den. Firepaw walks to Yellowfang and asks if she'll see Brindleface's kits. Yellowfang says that she might not be welcomed, especially since this is Brindleface's first litter. Firepaw walks back and sees Bluestar standing outside the den. She tells Firepaw to meet her in her den after he sees the kits. Firepaw walked into the nursery and saw Brindleface lying next to her 4 newborn kits. Ash Kit, Fern Kit, Tulip Kit, and Elder Kit. Firepaw asked if Brindleface was okay. Just tired, she answered. Firepaw says ThunderClan is lucky to have them, and leaves the den. Firepaw walks to Bluestar's den. Longtail tries telling Firepaw to go away, but Bluestar welcomes him in, saying that she should be fine with an apprentice. Bluestar says that Firepaw fought well during training. Firepaw nods and is about to tell Bluestar about Tigerclaw, but then Bluestar goes on to say that these recent deaths has worried her, and she's thankful Tigerclaw is here to keep her clan safe. She says that at a time she was afraid of Tiger Claw's ambition, but he seems to no longer have that ferocity of his mentor. Firepaw then thinks he can't possibly tell Bluestar now. Bluestar then admits that she didn't lose her 5th life, it was her 7th. She only has 2 lives left. Bluestar didn't want to worry her clan, so Firepaw's the only one that knows. Firepaw wonders why she's sharing this with him, rightfully so, but he thanks Bluestar for letting him know. Firepaw left the leader's den and thought about his conversation with her. A sudden yowl from Frostfur interrupted him. "Some cat has stolen her kits!" Tigerclaw ran over to her, telling the clan to search the camp. Cats scrambled around, searching everywhere for the kits. Firepaw spotted Yellowfang slipping out through the camp wall. Tigerclaw yelled for the cats from behind the nursery. They ran over to see what they had found. Spotted Leaf was laying on the ground, unmoving with a deep gash on her neck. Bluestar stepped up, saying that she was killed by a warrior's killing blow. Frostfur immediately assumes Yellowfang left with her kits and killed Spotted Leaf. I kinda don't blame her for that, but also Frostfur was the one that seemed to trust Yellowfang the most, so not sure about that. Tigerclaw announces that he always knew Yellowfang shouldn't be trusted. The sky started raining as cats talked. Firepaw couldn't believe that Yellowfang would steal kits and kill Spotted Leaf. Darkstripe asks Bluestar what she thinks. Bluestar stares down at Spotted Leaf's body, then says if Yellowfang is guilty, they will find and kill her. But they have to wait. The storm will wash away her scent, and they'll never find the kits. Broken Star wants recruits, meaning the kits aren't in immediate danger. She looks at Tigerclaw and says she needs to discuss plans with him. Tigerclaw nods and left for Bluestar's den. But she didn't follow. She flicked her tail and looked at Firepaw. Firepaw followed his leader into the medicine den. She asks if Firepaw knows where Yellowfang could have gone. He says no. Bluestar says she wants him to go look for Yellowfang. Firepaw asks if she's going to send Tigerclaw. Bluestar says that Tigerclaw will not ask if Yellowfang is innocent. He'll kill her without a second thought. She won't let an innocent cat die. Bluestar tells Firepaw to go at once to look for Yellowfang. Firepaw left and was about to head through the territory. Greypaw shows up and asks what he's doing. Firepaw explains and sees Ravenpaw from a distance. He watched as Frostfur hissed at him and nipped at his leg. He had to get Ravenpaw out of ThunderClan, now. Firepaw tells Greypaw they have to get Ravenpaw out of ThunderClan, and Greypaw suggests bringing him to Barley's farm. Firepaw agrees and they walk over to Ravenpaw, telling him they have to leave. Just as they were leaving through the tunnel, Tigerclaw stopped them and asked where they were going. Bluestar walks up and covers for them, saying Firepaw had offered to get some colt's foot for one of Brindleface's kits, and it's good to have some company with him. The 3 apprentices leave and race towards WindClan territory. As they head there, Firepaw explains why they had to save Ravenpaw and what he saw Tigerclaw do. They crossed WindClan territory and reached the other side. The 3 stopped and bid farewell to Ravenpaw. Ravenpaw asked how they'll explain his absence to everyone. Firepaw holds his gaze and says, because they will believe Ravenpaw is dead. Firepaw and Greypaw went back to ThunderClan to track Yellowfang's scent. The storm started to clear up, making it easier to find her scent. To Firepaw's dismay, they track Yellowfang's scent to ShadowClan territory. Firepaw and Greypaw cross the Thunderpath and enter ShadowClan territory. They crept forward, keeping their eyes out for anything. Greypaw sniffed around and said he can't smell Yellowfang anymore, but he could smell the blood of a kit. They search around and find Yellowfang behind a tree. The 2 apprentices pounce and pin Yellowfang down. Yellowfang spat and back away. She knew ThunderClan would blame her, but she didn't take the kits. Greypaw asked if she killed Spotted Leaf. Yellowfang looked bewildered. Spotted Leaf died? Firepaw asked how she didn't know. She didn't, since she left as soon as she heard the kits were missing, knowing it was ShadowClan who took them. She knew it was Clawface, and he must have also killed Spotted Leaf. These kits are not safe with ShadowClan. Firepaw says that surely even ShadowClan wouldn't harm kits. Yellowfang says that Broken Star will make them warriors. Greypaw said that he can't. There are only 3 moons. Yellowfang says that hasn't stopped him before. Broken Star takes kits away from their mothers at only a few moons, then makes them warriors at about only 5 moons. Firepaw asks how Broken Star can harm kits. Yellowfang said it didn't matter to him. If he ran out of kits, he could just steal from other clans. After all, he was killing cats from his own clan. Firepaw asks how he wasn't punished. Because he lied to ShadowClan and made them believe Yellowfang killed them. Broken Star had taken 2 kits away, only 4 moons, for training, who were also Yellowfang's little sisters. When he came back, the kits were already dead. He left them in Yellowfang's den, then told the clan she killed them. Firepaw tells Yellowfang she needs to come back with them to clear her name with Blue Star. Yellowfang refuses, saying she needs to save the kits first. Suddenly, Firepaw and Greypaw hear a ThunderClan patrol coming. Quickly, Yellowfang suggests she can gather some cats from ShadowClan to help them take the kits back. She explains that not all ShadowClan cats support Broken Star, but they're just scared of him. When Broken Star became leader, he kicked the elders out because they couldn't hunt for themselves. Yellowfang leaves and Firepaw ran to meet the patrol. Whitestorm, Darkstripe, Mousefur, Running Wind, and Willowpelt. Whitestorm greeted Firepaw and asked why he was here. He says that Blue Star had sent him to find Yellowfang. Whitestorm says that explains why Blue Star said they might find a friendly face here. Firepaw asked if Tigerclaw was here. Whitestorm tells him that Tigerclaw was held back to protect the camp. Firepaw says that he and Greypaw have a plan to raid ShadowClan and take the kits back, and Yellowfang will lead them there. Whitestorm asks how a traitor will help them take their kits back. Firepaw says that Yellowfang didn't steal the kits, nor did she kill Spotted Leaf. Whitestorm believes Firepaw, and the patrol follows him. They reach Greypaw, and only a few heartbeats later does Yellowfang appear. 3 cats follow Yellowfang: Ashfur, Nightpelt, and Dawncloud. Fun fact, despite being an elder, Nightpelt is still a relatively young Tom. He's only an elder because he has asthma. That's literally the only reason. They explain that it'll be easy to take over ShadowClan, since Broken Star only really has a small circle of supporters. Yellowfang says ShadowClan hadn't always been led by fear. When Ragged Star was leader, he led with the strength of the warrior code. I'm side-eyeing Yellowfang so hard right now. I know something you don't. The cats start discussing plans on how to attack. The patrol make their way to the ShadowClan camp, Yellowfang leading the way. She told the ThunderClan cats to hide away while she was led into ShadowClan by the other elders. When a yowl sounded from the camp, ThunderClan leapt out. In the clearing, Yellowfang and the others were fighting with a group of 6 cats. The other ShadowClan warriors were backed away, far from the violence. Firepaw fought off a silver tabby and sent him yowling. A kitten bounced up to Firepaw with bristling fur. Firepaw gently batted the kitten away. He looked around and saw Whitestorm fighting off the deputy, Blackfoot. Suddenly, Firepaw was pinned down by Clawface. Firepaw felt furious and whipped around, clawing and biting at the warrior. He overpowered the warrior and shoved his head into the ground, about to sink his teeth into his neck for the killing blow. Whitestorm knocked him away and sent the warrior fleeing. He tells Firepaw that a warrior doesn't need to kill to win battles. But Clawface was acting outside the warrior code, meaning that Firepaw could kill him. But sure, whatever, Whitestorm. Firepaw whipped around to face Broken Star and Yellowfang fighting each other. All of Broken Star's elite warriors had fled at this point. Yellowfang pinned Broken Star down. Broken Star spat that he never expected Yellowfang to be harder to kill than his father. Yellowfang backed away, her face heavy with grief. Broken Star shoved her away and got up. He killed Ragged Star? Yellowfang asked in disbelief. Broken Star says that he was soft and a fool. He deserved to die. Yellowfang wails. Did Brightflower's kits deserve to die too? Broken pinned Yellowfang down, hissing that the kits were weak. If he didn't kill them, another cat would've. He should have killed Yellowfang too when he had the chance. Firepaw ran over and lunged into Brokenstar's back. He dragged Brokenstar away from Yellowfang. Brokenstar sneers that Firepaw can't kill him. He still has multiple lives. ShadowClan warriors started to pad out from the edge of camp. They hissed and glared with hatred at him. He was outnumbered. Brokenstar backed away, hissing that this wasn't over, before turning tail and running out of camp. Greypaw suddenly ran, yelling for the kits. Firepaw, Mousefur, and Whitestorm followed him. The kits were buried under twigs and foliage. Greypaw and Mousefur dug the kits up, taking out Cinderkit, Brightkit, Brackenkit, and Thornkit. One of the kits had a nasty wound on his ear. Yellowfang rushed over, saying they needed to stop the bleeding. Running Nose walked over, holding cobwebs on his paw. Nightpelt walks over and thanks the ThunderClan cats, and says their territory will have no ShadowClan cats. Whitestorm nods, saying they'll have a moon of peace. He asks Yellowfang if she wishes to come back with them. Yellowfang says she will. After all, ThunderClan needs a medicine cat. The patrol made it back to ThunderClan without any problems. Frostfur is thankful to have her 4 wonderful babies back. Bluestar walks towards the patrol and asks if the kits were okay. Whitestorm says they are, all thanks to Firepaw and Greypaw. Tigerclaw stalked up, hissing an accusation. Why did they bring back the traitor? Firepaw says Yellowfang isn't a traitor. She didn't kill Spotted Leaf. Clawface did, and they can check between Spotted Leaf's claws to find brown fur, not gray fur. Mousefur went to check and said they were right. Tigerclaw says that Yellowfang could have still helped steal the kits. Firepaw says that Yellowfang is the reason they even found the kits. Whitestorm agrees with him. Frostfur asks if Brokenstar is dead. No, Whitestorm said. He ran away. But he won't ever be ShadowClan's leader again. Yellowfang stepped up, walking to Bluestar. She dipped her head and Bluestar touched her nose to Yellowfang. Bluestar says she wishes Yellowfang to be ThunderClan's medicine cat. Yellowfang looks around and Frostfur stares at her, giving her a nod of approval. Yellowfang accepts the offer. Bluestar then asks where Ravenpaw was. Tigerclaw agrees, saying it's so strange that Ravenpaw just disappeared with Brokenstar. Firepaw said that if Tigerclaw thinks Ravenstar... Ravenstar? Who's Ravenstar? Firepaw said that if Tigerclaw thinks Ravenpaw helped Brokenstar, then he's wrong. Ravenpaw is dead. They found his body on ShadowClan's territory. He had been killed by a patrol. Firepaw says that he'll tell Bluestar everything afterwards. Tigerclaw hissed that he never accused Ravenpaw of being a traitor. Then he gave a solemn look, saying that Ravenpaw would have made a fine warrior if he hadn't been killed. Bluestar says that yes, Ravenpaw will be missed. But first, she needs to perform another ceremony. She asks Whitestorm if the apprentices fought well. He says they fought like warriors. Bluestar nodded and raised her head. She asks her warrior ancestors to look upon these 2 apprentices, that they may follow in their ways. Bluestar looks at Firepaw and Greypaw. She asks if they promise to uphold the warrior code, even at the cost of their lives. They both say they do. Then, from this day forward, Firepaw will be known as Fireheart, and Greypaw will be known as Greystripe, both honored for their bravery and strength. The clan cheer their new names, and Bluestar tells the 2 new warriors they have to hold a vigil for the night. As cats walk away back to their dens, Tigerclaw stalked over to Fireheart. He says that the kitty pet can't outwit him, and to be careful what he tells Bluestar. Fireheart wants to tell Bluestar, but he's not allowed to speak during the vigil. Fireheart walks over to Greystripe as they watch over the camp. Fireheart thinks that he's ready for anything Tiger Claws throws at him. Yippee! Yay! We're done with the first book! We made it! Alright, now, time for my thoughts. So I think as an introduction to the series, this book works well. Its task was to introduce the readers to the clans, the cats within the clans traditions, and clan conflicts. I think it did its job well, and I'm not just saying that because I love the series. The reader being in the POV of someone who is new to the clans is a perfect way of showing them the ideas and concepts. Fireheart's first gathering is a good example of this. We spent about a whole chapter just hanging out with the other clans and showing how peaceful this night should be. While in the later books, the gatherings go by quickly, and we don't really focus too much on them unless something interesting happens. Fireheart being a kitty pet and having to deal with ThunderClan, distrusting him is a good way to show that the clans have very strong biases towards cats who weren't born there. I think the first book having all this Shadow Clan drama is also a good way to hook the reader on what's happening in the book. When I think of the first book, the scenes that come to mind have to be when Bluestar and Spotted receive the prophecy, Fireheart fighting Longtail and losing his collar, and Fireheart and Greystripe racing out of ThunderClan territory to save Ravenpaw from Tigerclaw. My favorite character in this book is Fireheart, in spite of his stupidity. He acts as a good way for the reader to experience things from an outsider's point of view. He doesn't immediately understand things and has to ask Greystripe questions about them. Unfortunately, in the next book, you might just get a little frustrated with Fireheart. Also, I do like that this book doesn't try to solve all loose ends, like Broken Star running away, Tigerclaw being a suspect of murder, Firepaw, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Now, you'll just have to hear my opinions on the second book. But that, my friends, is for another time. We have reached the end of our time here. I know that this isn't much, and people will probably not like this, but it was fun making this, and I hope you lot enjoyed me telling you about my favorite book series. Until next time.